Yellow, ladies and gentlemen, Strom back with another 119 video. This is going to be a super easy, cheap, and fast mud and mud brick farm. So let's get to it. Before we get into it, there is going to be a world download down in the video description where you can get this world and you can look at these two machines. Yeah, there's two machines. So technically it's not a mud brick farm because you still have to craft the mud bricks yourself. But what you need is mud blocks and wheat. And then you can get the packed mud and then you can make yourself your mud bricks, which also have the stairs and the slabs. And they sound really satisfying. So first thing we've got to do is get the mud. And I wanted to come up with the cheapest way possible. Again, we didn't get away without any quartz. So there is 9 quartz in this, but there is 0 slime, 0 obsidian, 0 coral, no other nether materials except for just that 9 quartz. So just, pop up a portal, run in, grab a few quartz blocks and get the heck out. And thanks to the Slimeless TNT Duper by Iceberg Lettuce, we don't need slime or coral for doing TNT. So this is going to be an AFK setup. And then right behind me here, this is an easy early game wheat farm. This does require bone meal to be input in this for this micro farm, and it did require 1 quartz here, but I included that in the 9 quartz. So it's 8 quartz for this machine and 1 quartz for this machine. I'm going to try and keep this video short, which means it should probably be like under 2 hours. I don't know. So first up, the mud. How do you get mud? By putting down a dirt block and hitting it with a water bottle. Now, mud is going to be a nice block not only for building, but for technical Minecraft as well, because mud has an interesting block height to it. So if I turn on hitboxes here, we can actually see that the item is much lower inside of that dirt block. And in fact, it's the same height as soul sand. Now, it doesn't make the bubble columns like soul sand does, but this means that the early game players who don't want to collect a lot of soul sand because the soul sand valleys are a dangerous place, you can use mud in place of those things where you need something to get sucked up from a hopper using a solid block. Because we can see here on the dirt that hopper's not going to pick it up, but there on the mud it does. And unlike soul sand, you can actually plant plants on top of dirt, which would include things like saplings. So this opens up some interesting possibilities for mud for the technical players, but also for the builders with the mud bricks. We want to make this automated. So what we have here is we have a smart piston. So whenever a block is put in front of this, it's going to kick off. But we have a little bit of delay on it so that we actually have time for this dispenser right here to hit that dirt with a water bottle. So I'm going to put dirt in front of this piston. We're going to see that gets converted to mud and then it gets pushed out. And then this dropper sends me out another piece of dirt. You also notice here we have just a dispenser facing some water, and that is filled with glass bottles. So just like we do with the honey farms, if you have a dispenser that is filled up with every slot having a glass bottle and it goes to change its bottle type, it can actually pick that up. So it spits it out in front of it and then gets picked up by this hopper and sent to this dispenser so we can have a constant flow of water. However, eventually that's going to run out, or one of the slots is going to run out, and we're going to stop getting our water bottles. We want to make sure we keep that going. So right underneath here, we have a item filter that only picks up empty glass bottles, which can stack, unlike the normal water bottles. They get sent to this dropper over here, and then when this kicks off to push that out, it also spits out its empty bottle and into this water stream. Now, normally a water stream like this, you'd want to have soul sand here going into a bubble column and a piece of ice here cutting it off to keep item momentum. But again, because we're using this mud, that item height is low enough that even though the item takes a short arc down, it still lands inside the water and then just naturally floats up in the water. So I'm going to turn on the game speed real quick and just show this manually. We can see the item comes out and then it flows down, lands on top of that mud. So because it has that shorter hitbox, it has room to land on top of there. And then it slowly floats all the way to the top, so we don't need that soul sand. Obviously, a piece of ice and soul sand would be better here, but we wanted to keep this cheap, where it just goes back into the hopper to refill this. So once we have these 9 stacks of glass bottles, that's all we need. This will feed itself. Like I said, we do have a short delay here because there is a bit of delay on a dispenser in spitting out that water, so we need to make sure that we give it time. So it's not as fast as a smart piston can go, but it's still going to get you a lot. I'm not going to go through the details of the Slimeless Duper in this video. Look down in the video description. This is by Iceberg Lettuce. There will be a link to his video where he shows you how to build it and why it works. And then all we have is the mud gets pushed across by that smart piston. When it comes in front of here, instead of using a sticky piston to do this, we just have 2 pistons here. So this gets pushed up, sets off the pistons, and it gets pushed back down. And then it dispenses a TNT. Because of that delay, it means we don't have to worry about doing any T flip-flops on this, because we can just push down these 7 blocks, and then by the time 7 blocks get pushed in, it's safe to dispense more TNT. And then we don't need any obsidian, because as of 119, leaves can be waterlogged, which means that they won't get destroyed by TNT. So this is now an explosion-proof block right here. And then we just have the items falling down into this water path that will take it to the hoppers. You are going to be limited by how much dirt you put into the system. So if you want to run more of this, by all means, just put some more hoppers on there and some more chests. Fill those with dirt. But then make sure down below at your collection as well, you come down here and you add in more hoppers going this direction and more chests to go along with them. So that's really it for this. I wanted to run this for a while and make sure that it was going to work properly. So I actually put a hopper down here underneath this opening to see if any glass bottles weren't making it. One of the other nice things about 118 is droppers and dispensers have less of a varied range. So those extreme values, they don't hit anymore. And look at that. We got a nice empty chest here. So I'm going to summon in a bot just so that we can see this working. You absolutely can do this just as the player, just holding down your right mouse click. But what you want to do is just look at the bottom corner of that piston closest to you, just so you don't place any blocks up here as well and get in the way. And then the rest is going to get taken care of for you. So the system will automatically drop the TNT, and we're going to see that working here. Turn on the hitboxes. We can see all the glass bottles jumping the gap and floating up to the top. And then that TNT lands on that leaf block and blows up the mud. I'm going to run a quick tick warp here so that we can see that this is going to be nice and stable. So we can see this runs just fine. And we can see all our mud down here in these chests. You could also use this as a concrete conversion system as well, just by putting down that leaf block there and waterlogging it. And then instead of dirt, just having your concrete powder inside of there. Start with a little bit of concrete in your hand. And we just start placing down the concrete in the same place that we'd put down the dirt. If you do this though, you definitely don't want to have the dispensers going off here. So you just break that piece of redstone, you're good to go. And now you're converting concrete powder to concrete. So now you can AFK to get yourself chest full of the mud blocks. Now we need to get the wheat for the mud bricks. So this system here, again, we have 1 quartz in here just so that we have the item filter so that we can make sure that we get the wheat out. And let me just clean up this extra chest before I actually release a world download, because that would suck. I'm not going to leave that part in the video, right? Right? So this is technically just under hopper speed. The reason being is this is not 100% lossless, but I've done it without any of the extra quartz for the clocks or anything like that. All we're doing here is we've got a torch burnout clock. And then the way that we're growing the wheat is we have these 3 dispensers looking at where you would plant the seeds. So they're going to have bone meal in them, and they're going to feed bone meal into the wheat to grow it up. This block is then going to get pushed in front of here, blocking off all light. As you can see, we've got a slab here that's waterlogged for a water source. That will block off all light, which then automatically breaks the wheat and allows you to plant more. So all you need to do to run this is flick the lever to turn it on. We can see that that's going to go back and forth. Come down here right under this block, and we're going to look at the bottom of that block right there and start planting our seeds. You'll get seeds fed back in your inventory. You'll occasionally pick up some wheat, but most of our wheat is going to get picked up by that item filter and then head down into these chests. There are other versions out there of the micro wheat farms that are lossless and are double this speed. I just want to do this one again with the same theme of making it as cheap as possible because I'm just kind of having a lot of fun with that. So this is super early game. Like I said, that 1 piece of quartz, some redstone dust. You don't need to make observers or anything like that. We don't need any sticky pistons here on front on that block because we're just using pistons to push it back and forth. So you don't need any slime yet. And then you can grab your wheat and you can grab your mud and start crafting away. And I'm a master builder. Probably got more work to do. So that's going to be it. As always, of course, I've used yellow concrete because it is the best block in the game. But these yellow concrete blocks can be swapped out for any solid block. So they can just be cobblestone, they could be dirt, whatever you want them to be. That's going to be it for this video. Again, check down in the comments. There will be a world download where you can grab this. Unfortunately, at the time of recording this, Massa's mods are not available yet for 1.19. Knowing Massa, it shouldn't be long, and when they are, I will try and remember to put a Lightmatic file of this down in the video description if you want to build this off of Lightmatic. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll catch you later. Have a good one. Bye.